Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Collective VC podcast. Today, we're joined by Neissan Monadjem. He is the founder of LINKSPORTS, and he is also the recent winner of our Collective VC pitch competition in April. So, Neissan, a warm welcome to you, and I guess over to you to tell us a little about yourself and also about LINKSPORTS for those who don't know.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you for having me. I remember that this is a long journey. It's not my first startup, and if you want me to say a few words about my experience, maybe I should start from what my profession is. I'm trained actually as a designer. And for many years, I always try to accommodate in cabinets and computers the functionality of printers and CPUs and screens, and you were always trying to occupy the smaller space in a design or a given design. And at some point, I realized actually instead of designing with components, you can start design with businesses and aggregate different functions to accomplish a certain business model. And I realized that I was making a transition from products to businesses, and that was about 20 years ago. Ever since, I had around 7 startups that we started, and 3 of them were in the field of fintech. And I always say that although LINKSPORTS has a very strong name linked to sports, and of course the content is sport, but I think the business model is more inclined to be a fintech. It's a fintech with sports content. And my experience has showed me that regardless of a great idea you might have, the accomplishment, the delivery, the building of that vision is very important. And LINKSPORTS has maybe the characteristic of having an idea that most of the people, when they hear, they say, oh, why didn't I think about that before? Because it's a simple idea, but it's very complex on its execution because it involves blockchain, AI, business to business, business to consumer, platform design. It's very complex. That's why the hard part of it is the people you can attract with the vision to be able to deliver the results.
So, for those who don't actually know what LINKSPORTS is aiming to accomplish, how about you give us just a brief overview of what the actual app entails?
LINKSPORTS is a platform business, which means it gathers data from its users. It is seeking to give visibility to unknown aspiring players, which means all the world of sports outside professional players need to have gathered data to be able to be visible. And we created a platform that allows that data to be captured with video analytics. But the beauty of it is that we also learn how to monetize that by using NFTs and blockchain to issue sort of rights over that talent in a way that fans can be empowered investing in that talent. Of course, I'm not giving you an elevator pitch because this is a podcast. I can be a little longer. But if I would say it in a few words, LINKSPORTS is connecting players and empowering fans by giving visibility to aspiring players and allowing them to have a financial support that we call micro sponsorship, coming directly from fans in a peer-to-peer payment system. That's why I say we are also a fintech, not only a sports tech.
What incentive is there for the fan to sponsor a player? Just for those who don't know.
Well, that's a great question. I would give you 2 incentives. One of them is the financial incentive, right? Which is the fact that depending on the amount you offer as support, it becomes more than a small social help, like $20, $30 a month. That is for the pleasure of helping someone. But actually, if you want to invest in their career, then depending on the amount you invest, you'll get NFTs. And NFTs of that unknown player may not be valuable, but certainly if it becomes known and professional, they will be worth much more than the fraction that we cost. And therefore, there is an expectation. If you look at the world of sports, you know that very few people will accomplish contracts on the scale of millions of dollars. Everybody that loves sports knows that there are like 40 million players in Brazil on football, but 33,000 of them are professional, and only 15% of them make more than $1,000 a month. And those are numbers everybody knows. The same way that everybody knows how much Cristiano Ronaldo makes or Messi, they also know that the Messis and the Ronaldos are very, very rare. So as an investment, you know that it's not something that has a high ratio of accomplishment, but there is a social impact, an accomplishment of, knowing that you are giving traction to someone's career, even if it's $50 a month, because that is a lot of money in Africa. It's a lot of money in Latin America. I can share a lot of examples. The second part of what you get in return, it's a little bit biological, I would say. If you love hockey, basketball, football, baseball, whatever, inherently you have the gift of being able to look at the player and say, this guy plays well. That's part of the game, of loving the game. Part of it is challenging yourself and your friends to see who detects the next career. So much so that in any conversation about sports, there's always someone that is proud to be the first guy who saw Ronaldo when he wasn't famous. And in Portugal, I said, I saw his talent. I said, this guy is special. I don't know why, but every one of us has this capacity to compare, to make a benchmark of athletic capacity. So I think there is that pleasure too, that you're betting on someone that you think is going to be better than anyone else. But the platform gives you AI ranking, so you can actually measure in a competitive way and use structured data, because everything else is very, volatile. Oh, he played well today, didn't play well that game, or he's injured, or he just got bad news from his mom and didn't play well that day. Okay, this is one thing. The other thing is the challenges that we do that allows us to compare the capacity of each player. And those things help the fan to elect which one of them he wants to invest in.
So a way to consider it is almost like early stage private markets for fantasy football, in a sense.
Oh, you're really clever on your analogies. Yeah, you would say fantasy sports depends on the result of games every day, right? But these are all professionals. But you have to remember, for each one of those guys playing, there are 20,000 guys that are not playing there as a professional. And probably out of those 20,000, 200 of them are excellent players. And 10,000 play better than you, even if you love that sport. So there is a whole market that is forgotten because there's no streaming showing their films, their games. There's no reputation. There's no Adidas investing in them. So we decided, well, why not scaling the whole business of investing in someone's career? And instead of coming when it's too late, because, of course, if the guy is famous and is getting $100 million a year from Nike, who am I to say I also want to invest? Obviously, you want to invest. But if the guy is unknown and I found him first, or me and 20 other guys, there is another flavor on that. And, of course, the numbers are smaller. But for us as a business, the numbers per player are smaller, but then you're not talking about 2 or 3 or 10 or 100. You're talking about 10 million in a country. So that's our objective, and that's why we have to use AI, because we have to be scalable. But you're right, is maybe the first funnel into fantasy sports is the non-famous fantasy sports, and the every guy or every Joe player that nobody knows yet, but may become next generation of Neymar or another player. So give you an example. In the area we're working in Brazil since 2 years ago when our MVP work started, very few months before we started, there was a nice guy that was one of these young players. He was, well, I don't know, 14 years old, 15. Now the guy is 17, just 2 years passed. His name is Endrick, and he got a contract from Real Madrid. And of course, out of 10,000 Endricks on that area in Brazil, only one of them got that. But maybe 10 of them will be very good professionals. We are trying to scale by being sustainable, not only to the 10 or to the one, but by having hundreds of thousands of these players being sponsored by people all over the world that loves Brazil or love football. And in that case, we could have the same and will have the same in India with cricket. Because the passion is only one, but the name of the game changes. And right now, presently, we have the app downloadable in 15 countries, and we already got from eight countries, we got contributions from fans to our players in Brazil.
That's wonderful. I wanted to say I understand the NFT model, and I understand the biological driver there, because we see all these things like I mentioned, fantasy football, also sort of FIFA pro clubs, where we want to say that we want to engage with the sport in a way that proves we understand it better than the next person. I very much get that.
Oh yeah.
Is there a way, for example, that the NFT could represent? By the way, I'm not sure about the ethics of this, but it could represent the sort of future underlying earnings potential of that player, and it become more like an investment market.
That is absolutely possible in terms of technology. We have it, but that's not allowed. If you get it exactly like you said, you'll have problems with FIFA, because FIFA doesn't want everyone to have earnings on that. Yeah, they were much more comfortable with having 2 or 3 guys making $100 million than 100 million guys making $10. So that will change, I have no doubt, because regulators of bank had to accept fintech. So I don't see how FIFA won't accept other ways to make access to funding democratic, because at the end of the day, your job depends on how many people can have support on that sport, not of how many millions of dollars one only guy is supported by FIFA, by Nike or Puma or Adidas. So I think the pressure, the social pressure will be always augmenting in all the sports federations. And we help to actually maximize and equalize access. Now, answering to your question, yes, we can do it, but in order to respect FIFA, and we have to respect, we want to work under the law of every country and under the law of every federation of sports. So there are ways to do this. You can't get a commission on the transference of that athlete. But if you are the owner of a local team that is a developer team and invested years on that athlete, you can have a commission until he's 25. That is a work in progress for us. But there are other ways to make money and be sustainable with NFTs. For instance, I'll tell you something that in many countries we think that this is a killer application. Is NFTs are the future, they're intangible, non-fungible, the concept a lot of your audience knows. But ultimately, they're a digital asset. If there's no electricity, like it just rarely happens in Canada where I am, but it happened 10 minutes before our call. And if there is no electricity, there is no NFT. If there is no cloud, there is no NFT. If there is no internet, there is no NFT. But you know what? We are going to give the NFT the physical representation as well. You see this? This is the physical representation of an NFT that you can get in your home of your best moments, your career, your score in the platform. This, in case, is Alex Silva. a national football team champion. He was champion in the Beijing Olympics in football, and of course, 3 times champion and national champion in Brazil. Alex Silva could be an unknown player that also has the privilege of receiving his NFT physically at home 2 days after someone donated it for him, or the athlete bought it himself. So we think that the combination of NFTs and physical printing of those sports cards can help monetize. And you're right. Some of the things are possible, but forbidden. And some of the things are forbidden and impossible. We like the first category.
I totally understand that. And I think it's a good trajectory to have if that is your trajectory, purely because, you know, gambling and sport are so inseparable. But it's better if someone is in a sense taking a bet on somebody, and that ends up having a social impact, right? So maybe you could spell out what it's like to be a young sports player, maybe a football player in Brazil, and you can't afford those shoes, or the transport's a little bit too much, or you can't get the right nutrition. And let's take it back to the impact, and how do these sponsorships actually help these kids?
I'll give you an example. You apparently you did your homework, because you're giving my example before I started. But okay, so there is this trash collector in a city called Araraquara in Brazil. He is a young boy. He's a 23-year-old boy. So he's a man. But that gives us less trouble, because we are very cognizant of privacy law, and we always have the permission of the parents. In his case, it's easier. He's 23. But what is his salary? A guy like him is making, for a whole day working on trash collection, he's making about $700 a month. Do you think he can afford the Nike sports shoes for $200? He can't. He has to survive. So he's connected to 8 fans all over the world. Sorry, in his case it's more. I think it's 12. One of them sent him $100. And with that in hand, plus what he had, his balance was 500 Brazilian currency reais. He was able to buy a Nike sports shoes using gift cards.
Chamo Matheus, sou mais um atleta da LINKSPORTS, faço parte da plataforma e hoje eu vim aqui mostrar mais um prêmio que eu tive da LINKSPORTS.
Why do we translate the NFT, the investment into gift cards? Because we want to make sure, especially on minors below 18-year-old age, that the fan is absolutely sure that that money is not going for drugs, not going to take your girlfriend to the movies. That money is going for your sports training and career. So we give away, after his wallet is replenished and is replenished, the player chooses to trade it for Nike, Puma, Adidas, or retailers in Brazil of sports gear. Ultimately, I can give an example, and maybe you can share the image of this boy who's called Mateus Camargo, playing and showing his talent at the platform, on the platform, getting the score, and ultimately being able to buy equipment, be more competitive. What is the result? The result is that a team, it's not a first-tier team in Brazil, it's a second-tier, third-tier team. There are thousands of teams in Brazil, but he got a chance. People that never saw him playing physically saw his ranking. He excelled 1,000 points in the platform, just a few do that. And now they are giving him a contract. So I think it's a very successful story. And we want to have thousands of these stories every month. We don't want to have one killer story that ends up in Real Madrid, because that is statistically impossible. It happens once in a year, twice in a year. We want to have smaller, nice stories that help these people. And remember that helping them is not only getting them sports gear, because just the fact that a poor boy in Guatemala, in Brazil, in Pakistan, everywhere in the world, feels that the logic of him getting money from someone utterly unknown to him, but getting a small money enough for him to keep exercising and striving, is a good reason for him not to go to drugs. Because why do these guys start, in crime? Because they make $10, $20 a day bringing and selling drugs. Why can't they go and practice the sport they love and make those $50? And that's the logic behind us. And don't get me wrong, this is not an NGO, it's a profitable company, has to be sustainable. But we think that what drives us and what makes 30 people already help as volunteers is this social global impact that we have.
And I'm wondering, how truly global is it? Because I understand it's a great equalizer, especially in the global south. But, there's also poverty. I know lots of young kids in the UK who wouldn't be able to afford these nice shoes as well. So would they be able to sign up for the platform? Is it means tested? How do you work that out?
Well, when I say global, is because I'm the founder of a startup, and half of my curriculum is to be a dreamer. I have to be a deliverer too, but my dream, my vision is global. Right now, we have it downloadable in Australia, in Nigeria, in the UK, certainly in the US, in Israel, in Brazil, in Turkey, and many other countries, 15 countries. And yes, you can download it in the UK in case you're there now. But we have to create local content. And that, in a stage that we are, is very hard without capital. It's just like going to Facebook in 2004 at Harvard and saying, why aren't you in 1,000 universities in the US? Well, the concept has to start somewhere. I think we're going pretty fast. We have it downloadable in these countries, but our content is not customized yet. Therefore, we would say the first stage is having the content in Brazil and having 15 countries being able to participate. And then we'll have a second country, which is Portugal, uses the same language, is the gateway to Europe. The third one, probably Japan. And by 2026, we want to have the US, Mexico, and Canada, which are downloadables already, the app, but having local communities more than content. The biggest challenge is the community, and of course, this is because of the FIFA Championship, the World FIFA tournament in 2026 that is hosted by North America. We want to be in these 3 countries. That's why we're going after capital now.
That makes total sense. I'm thinking, a thought that just came to mind. Have you thought about combat sports? Because there's places like Dagestan and Chechnya where there's it's a huge part of their culture. And we see lots of those young people coming into the UFC and making it big. But I was wondering if that's something you thought about.
We were not thinking, because we were thinking about collective sports. By obvious reasons, we thought it would match better and augment the number of users in the platform. But one representative in an Asian country, I can't mention the name, decided that we have to have kickbox, and we're doing a joint venture to develop the AI video analytics on kickbox. And that's why the brand is chosen to be LINKSPORTS, because we want to be the LinkedIn of sports, with one difference. LinkedIn, you can write whatever you want. You can say, for instance, I could say I'm the former Microsoft chairman in Brazil. If I wrote that, it would be a lie. But a lot of people would know. They would just see, oh, Neissan, yeah, he's got the age. Between 97 and 2002, he was the chairman. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that checks out, yeah.
Yeah, that checks out.
I wouldn't question it.
You wouldn't, right? Okay, so sports people usually think that they play well. If they're playing, it's because they think they play reasonably well. If they're lousy players like me, they don't even play. But on LinkedIn, you can write your English is perfect, yet it has the accent my English has. On LinkedIn, you can write you were this or that, but nobody proves. The difference is that on LinkSports, you have to prove by going through our analytics. And if you do the challenges, which are 15 challenges for each sport, and you gain points, it's probably unlikely that you're a lousy player and you have 1,000 points. It's the least I can say is unlikely. Of course, you will see that the person is skilled, and you will see in a way that is simplified. It's not a game, it's a specific challenge, so you can have a benchmark. It makes sense because at the end of the day, what you want to see in the NFT is not only the picture of the guy. You could have pictures everywhere, and TikTok can have pictures. You can print something that you posted on Facebook, but you can't have an analytic, serious job done with your skills unless you're on LinkSports. And then when you do it, you have all the data, all the content you want to add, but you will have the testing, comparison, and benchmark, and that will be translated into a ranking. That's the difference. And you didn't ask me, but if you ask me what's the difference of uploading your videos on TikTok and uploading on LinkSports, that's why. And the reason we decided having this name is because we are multiple sports, because the logic behind football applies perfectly well in other sports. In basketball, for instance, the same problem. A lot of people are invisible because they're not living in the right place, in the right country, in the right distance from a famous team.
I can't remember the name of the film. It was last year, I think. It was Adam Sandler, and he was a basketball scout. I'm sure you will have watched it.
Yeah, I have, but I also am terrible with film names.
No, it's fine. So, I guess it's a huge trope is that these scouts trek off to, in the film they're in some impoverished place, and they're going down to a local park, and they've got their binoculars, right? Is that what it's really like in real life?
Not generally speaking, because scouting is you see all this new technologies going to the first tier teams. You see, I don't know, satellite, GPS, accelerometers, wearables, laser, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to finding someone in amateur sports, it's basically the same thing for 70 years. They have to see the guy playing. Now, how do you see a guy playing in a country where there are 4,700 cities, in which the majority of the cities will demand you to go on a plane for a couple of hours maybe, and then drive another 5 or 6 hours? Will you do that as a scout to find someone that is uncertain to be worth it? You won't. So you go to the hints that you have from another scout in a specific area that you have a relationship with that are worth spending your time, or worth paying the guy and his parents to fly to where you are. Now, that is always a $1,000, $2,000 deal in terms of, insurance, expense, ticket, blah, blah, blah. How many of these do you think a scout will do per month? Now, if you have a filter that is based on information that all these boys and girls can get in the field, just using their smartphones, then at least the scout can look at the ranking, and the ranking is showing them the 100 best out of 100,000. Then they will do that. So as to answer your question, yes, pretty much like that, but because you can't do it in a scalable way, no scout is using his binoculars everywhere. Actually, another analogy you want to see is a radar as opposed to being in the airport with the binoculars. If you are on the command post of an international airport like Hartfield in Atlanta, those guys that are in the tower, they see the planes coming. But that's when they are 7 kilometers away. If they are 70 or 700, the only way to see is radar. How can you maybe create an analogy of a radar for players. You could say, oh, very easy, just film them playing and send it. But the film is very hard to compare. Now, 15 challenges that we have, you can see them on YouTube. The 15 challenges are very easy to compare, a little hard to perform. But that's the order you want. You don't want a thing that is easy to perform and hard to compare. So the logic is new, and we think it's applicable to every sport.
Just going back to your mentioning of social media, let's say somebody has built a little following for themselves. They post videos of themselves on TikTok doing, around the world and keepy ups and taking nice free kicks from a long way away, and they get all these views, right? Is it easy for them to link their followers to their LINKSPORTS account and say, "Come and support me on LINKSPORTS"?
Perfect. We call those videos that are abundantly everywhere as freestyle. You can film whatever you want. You can show how great that goal it was. But most of the people don't have a telezoom camera. There is a mother or a father filming. And when they run to the other side of the goal, nobody can capture or actually see if it's the same guy or someone else. So those things are anecdotal information about you. You want to compare. You want to show if you can hit the ball precisely there, if you can run in less than 2 minutes and do this, if you can jump high enough. All these things combined with this freestyle that you see everywhere, not only in our platform, are a perfect combination. So the answer is yes, and we welcome everyone that has those things already, those videos, to upload the platform. But what I've seen is that a lot of people are investing in having those videos, professionally produced with cool background music and splash and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, it's funny, but those that really know how to play don't even bother on producing a Hollywood masterpiece of 2 minutes to show how great they are. But this is the direction things are going. We are going in the other direction. We are doing our one-by-one parametric comparison using AI. Not everything is using AI yet. Some of the challenges are not AI-driven or automatic. But at the end of the day, I think we can create a score. Now, funny enough, if you have 3 or 4 or 3,000 films of people playing, and you have 5 specialists, 5 coaches and scouts in a conference, and you tell them, okay, these 3,000 films, only one per player, let us score them. First of all, you're mostly scoring not the defense, because the easiest way to score something is a goal. But how about the other guys whose job is not to make a goal? You will score them from what? Maybe that film didn't show them. Maybe the film showed them, but the ball wasn't there. He didn't do anything. Maybe the best thing he could do at that moment was doing nothing. It's so complex that it's very hard to give a score with the film. After you see 10 films of a guy, 10 films of the other, then you start realizing, well, this guy is really good. But when you see the score on LINKSPORTS, you know precisely this guy is better than this guy. I don't know about his playing. I don't know about his tactics, his special vision of the game or strategy. But I know one thing, this guy plays better than that guy. This is what we give.
Thanks for that insight. Another thing I was thinking about is, for example, if you had a startup that was, for example, making some form of renewable technology, their end goal wouldn't be to sell it to an oil company who would likely shelf that or potentially just, not bring it to its full potential. So in your case, what does the desirable exit opportunity for LINKSPORTS look like? And do you even want to sell the company if the option comes available?
That's great, the analogy of oil companies and clubs. Not all the clubs in the world. There's a lot of clubs that are run like a company, but in many places of the world, they're an extension of the president. He does whatever he wants, and they don't have any accountability. They don't have, they're very, very known not to be very professional in their management and in their accounts. So if I call them oil companies, you'll understand that when we created LINKSPORTS, unlike the many, many advices that I got, oh, I know someone at this first tier team. Oh, I know someone at Real Madrid. Oh, I know someone at Corinthians in Brazil. And we always told them, first of all, it's not time. Second, most of these guys will say, come on, we know the game. We don't need you. And if they decide paying anything, they will probably say, I'm not paying you, but you can tell everyone that we are sponsoring you. So I thought, you know what? We're not knocking on the oil company doors. But after now the degree of learning lessons and maturity, we learned that we can also have a white label app so that those guys, if they want to monetize their fans by giving them something worth it, because usually they monetize the fans by giving them, I don't know, one jersey a year with the autographed by the team or something like that, and they pay $500 a month for season tickets. So basically the team doesn't know how to monetize the fan unless it is some discount on season tickets or things like that, or some perks. We decided the best way to monetize a fan is to turn him into an investor honorary scout. He will be your eyes everywhere looking for new talent, just like American Idol. You know, you have specialists in music, but if a guy gets 10,000 people clapping and the other gets 200, well, these guys are not specialists, but probably they would buy an MP3 from that guy and not from this guy. Okay, so that's a good thing. And we think that what we're doing is empowering the fans. So why not having the teams buying our app? And this is a new revenue stream, which is B2B, is offering the oil companies a way to find where oil is without having to make a prospect and a hole that is so expensive, but having a lot of people making small holes for them using the oil analogy. So yes, we want to approach them when the right time comes, but our model is to create our own community. So we are team agnostic. And every team, every club can use our platform. All they have to do is send their scouts for free, I might add, enter the app and see the talent. And may I extend the answer to one thing? That's funny because people say, wait a minute, you're having the talents in one side of the ecosystem and then you let the scouts to come in for free. You're not renting the entry for scouts. And I tell them, have you used LinkedIn? LinkedIn has the recruiters for free and has your resume and professional profile there for free. And in the beginning, in 2004, everybody thought, are these guys crazy? They're not charging something to intimidate. The same way we are not intermediating. We're not charging commission on intermediation. We decided we are not charging commission here. We're charging on the investment that comes in the platform. And that is a very big difference. But it makes us club agnostic. And I really laugh and I don't understand these companies that are proud to say, we have a company with this huge team, I don't know, Tottenham or Chelsea or whatever, to find talent. And I always ask them, are you bragging about having a contract? Of course, these guys are big, are cool, are nice, but have you looked at your contract that the word exclusivity is not there? And if I don't have a contract, but if I have Cristiano Ronaldo in my term sheet, I can sell him to anywhere in the world with contract or without a contract, and you'll be just there waiting to have a good talent. So selling talent to teams is dependent on the talent you have, not of the contract you have with that club. And therefore, we are club agnostic. and the rest of the planet is all bragging of having a contract with Corinthians. I don't see the point.
That makes sense to me. I'm wondering though, if, for example, somebody who was using the LINKSPORTS app wanted to harness the tribal mentality of some of these football fans or these baseball fans or whatever, could they be like, my favorite club is this, and have their little logo there, and then maybe all these, Arsenal fans in the UK be like, oh, this guy wants to play for Arsenal one day, maybe we'll support him. I'm wondering if there's an angle there to harness that sort of tribal groupthink.
Short answer, be my guest. How many people there are using Amazon to make money with their own old model, just using them as providers of data and content? How many people survive and make their living hanging on LinkedIn and selling ads and selling everything they want and charging for recruiting services, but they're all using LinkedIn for free? I want people to come in and use our platform as a display of the talents they might have, and each one of them may have a contract with those talents, and they have or not have contract with teams. I don't care. I want to be the means for them to make money. I want their data in my platform. I don't want to contract with me. We calculated if we wanted to be global and run after people that would probably be remissive on paying our commission, we would have to have 200 lawyers in our platform one day. I don't want to do that. So we decided, if you want to use our platform as your private display of the talents you have, regardless of the contract we have with them, be my guest.
How do you really plan on distributing this as widely as possible? Because I think you mentioned volunteers earlier, because it seems like it'd be a difficult thing to get into the hands of a lot of the people who could really benefit from it.
Yeah, we need capital, and we have to grow quickly. At the stage we are, we know what we're doing right, and we already know what we're doing wrong. So we can put a lot of money on what we're doing right. It's a good stage. And I'll tell you one thing: the day you see a founder saying the product is perfect, he's got a very limited vision, because nobody can be happy. The day your product is ready, after you worked on the software for months, you already have a much better idea next day. So what we think is that we are in a maturity level to know our mistakes, and we know a lot of things that work, and we can reproduce them in more markets. But in doing so, we can't only rely on downloadable apps, which we have. We have to have local content. We have to have local marketing. So we need resources. And we have a lot of partnerships that are coming up. We are not going to have 2,000 developers. We are having aggregators, each one with their technology, augmented reality, printing services, AI technology that we are aggregating in the platform from outsiders using APIs. We can grow fast thanks to that. Ultimately, a short answer for your question is, yeah, in order to grow fast, we need to have a structure that is adaptable to different sports, which we do, and we need to have capital. And that's why we came to this hub, and we think it was great that we were granted the first prize. And I thank you very much, and to the judges, because having a validation from specialists that are able to do the great questions you just asked, it's a great thing. Thank you.
And on that note, I will just say thank you very much, Neissan, for coming on. It's a wonderful place to end, because a lot of our audience are working in the investment space, and I think I'll turn this into a clip and see if people can comment some, will they know who invest in and around sports. And so, again, thanks for offering your time. It was a really, really insightful conversation. I enjoyed it very much. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to having me here, and thank you for your questions. I always learned that questions show more what you understand about something than the answers. And I think you understood quite well. Thank you. I hope your audience also likes it.